and how is this vision playing out in developing countries, especially the Philippines?
I think that what we mean by a network society is that anything that benefits from being connected in the future will be connected. And you can think about it like this, for 100 years we tried to solve one problem, that was to make people communicate, to call each other, to speak over voice. And of course, the last 6-7 years we've understood that the networks that we're building will be used for something totally different. And that means that we want to have data capabilities, internet access to the mobile networks. And that's of course going to not only transform you and me as how we're using the technology, it's going to transform businesses, how businesses can be done differently, and it's definitely going to have an impact on our society, how the society can actually use this infrastructure to be more efficient. And I think that is what is a network society, and we're just about to get into the second phase of the network society, and we're going to use all these technology in a way we never planned for, never thought about. And I think when we think about markets like the Philippines and other markets, it's going to have a huge impact on how this infrastructure will transform countries, people's lives and businesses over time.
What are the unique challenges, for example, implementing that vision in a setting like the Philippines, where the penetration rate for mobile and broadband are not that much compared to other developed countries? What are the challenges and how do you address them?
I think the opportunity, number one, is that there's very little legacy. I mean, usually you take a country like Nordic countries or something, they would have a fixed network, they would have a black and white TV, color TV and all of that. They will have a progression of technology. In this market, like in the Philippines, you will start with a device that is connected to the internet that can do something, and of course will enable people a lot. So that is the opportunity. The challenge, of course, is to get the penetration out. And to be honestly clear is that the network as such, that will be there. I mean, by 2020, 90% of the Earth population above 6 years old will have a mobile phone. So of course we see a rapid distribution of this technology. The biggest challenge for a market like Philippines is to get the price of the handsets to come down so everybody can buy it. But they are coming down quite quickly due to the global scale of the mobile technology that we have all around the world. So I think that is the most important, and then the networks is part of it. Then of course it's up to you and me, and as a consumer, how you're going to use the network. Secondly is, of course, when you have these infrastructures, how can different industries benefit from this technology to transform their industry? If it's a logistics company or a software company or a automotive company, whatever, they can also use this technology to transform.
Could you talk more about that, the role of ICT in terms of sustaining a development agenda? Because usually when people talk about connectivity, it's just on a more consumer level basis. How do you see connectivity in the larger context of development, sustainable development for countries like the Philippines?
I think that it's going to be enormously important. I mean, the sustainable development we need on this planet, of course, is enormous. I mean, we're growing as a planet. More people, more urbanization, more people come to cities like Manila. And of course, we need to find technology solution that can actually enable all of us to be in the same place. That's where technology comes in. We need smart cities where actually you can use the mobile technology to put up smart grids, how you use the electricity in the country, so everyone can use it in the best way, because everyone wants to get the right to that. You need to connect things like cars, the transport system, to avoid the traffic, to avoid hazards. All there you have an ICT as an enabler, and a very sustainable solution as well, because it's long term. And I think that's what I'm seeing when I see the impact on society. But then on the other side, you also have the impact on education. Suddenly you don't need to be exactly where the school is, or you can actually get information, education due to mobile technology. You can see healthcare also being extremely important in transformation using ICT, which is essential for the progress of a country, progress of a person, that you can get the basic healthcare. All that we can partly enable with the enabler, which is mobile technology, broadband and the cloud. And that's what we're seeing now spread out in the whole world. And I think that's what I'm seeing, sustainable solution. That's why I'm also an advocate in the UN talking about ICT as a huge important tool and infrastructure for governments to make the countries prospering and developing.
How could governments capitalize on ICT as a development tool based from in the Philippines? We don't have exactly a cabinet level dedicated to ICT. But from the current setup, how do you think government, for example, can leverage on the capacity of ICT connectivity to further their e-government services or development agenda based on successful examples from other countries?
I think that a couple of things. First of all, I mean, one need to understand that with the private sector are investing in mobile infrastructure and cloud and broadband services, and that will continue. That base will be there. The best practice we see from governments is that first of all you have a broadband plan for the country. You have certain targets, you want to have broadband for all, you want everybody sort of included in the society by using broadband. Secondly, is of course very important that after that, different ministries need to have a digital agenda. And I think that's where many governments are failing, because suddenly, okay, we have broadband, but broadband is just an enabler. You want the Minister of Healthcare, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Sustainability, all of them thinking, how can I use that platform? And the best practices we have from different countries, like I would say Singapore is a good example, Australia is another good example, Sweden is another, where they have cross-functional agendas for e-government, e-healthcare, and all of that. And I think that's really is the next step, and that's a lot what I'm talking about to governments, that first step, broadband plan, it will happen because the private incentives will do it. And secondly, see that you have a strategy in all these subdomains. Use digitalization, because you and I as consumers, we will have in our hands something that is connected. And that we should use in order to transform and make a better life for everyone on this planet.
Why do you think some governments fail to see, or I don't know if it's a failure of or just is it just a matter of development stage in terms of recognizing how big of an agenda ICT should be in their government? Why does some governments have different levels of
I think it's a very good question. I think that given that we are in 180 countries, I meet basically all representatives of all governments around the world. I think it's one thing, there's a rapid deployment of these technologies. I mean, we need to recognize, I mean, in 25 years, we have gotten up to 7 billion mobile subscriptions in the world, and today we have 3 billion mobile broadband subscriptions. I mean, it's a staggering development in so few years. So, and even if we see that in front of us, the next 5 years is mind-boggling, because the speed is just going to go up. By 2020, basically, all people on Earth except 300 million will have mobile coverage. And we will have mobile broadband that's going to be basically 3 times as many people on this Earth will have access to internet in 5 years. So of course, I think that the speed of this deployment of these technologies, of course, something we just need to recognize, it's going very fast. And then doing plans how to use it, of course, has to have some certain bureaucracy and law and order. I think that's where I see differences in countries, depending on how far they come and how quickly the technology is coming. But I don't feel that I meet any government that would say we shouldn't use this as an enabler for making a better society, making a more sustainable country, cities and all of that. I think all countries recognize that. It's just that they just need to plan that through and see that they have the best practices and share with other countries how they do.
Going back to the vision of a network society, what do you think are the skills moving forward that would be most in demand in such a setting? And how do you address the challenges of security and privacy concerns?
So on the first question there, what type of skills? And I think that you need all skills, but of course, when you come to this technology, you're going to have basically no barriers between countries, because you can actually create a service sitting in the Philippines and delivering that wherever it is, because it's built on mobility, broadband and cloud. So first of all, need to rethink that whatever solution you can do can actually be global suddenly. Whatever products we did for 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they were local. Then you need to have a distribution and things like that. But that's really difficult. So of course, the opportunity, of course, you can go global with solutions using these assets very early on. The other thing then, of course, with all this positive impact, I mean, there's a positive impact of for every 10% of penetration you have on mobile broadband, you actually have a sustainable GDP growth of 1%. So there's many positive. Of course, there always comes some challenges with all technology revolutions. And security, privacy, resilience, resilience of data, because everything is data. Those three are the challenges that we constantly need to talk about, we need to share, and it's not one company, one government, one organization that can solve it. We need to work together, private, public, and educate all of us how this technology will impact privacy, security, and resilience. And that we're doing, we're taking part in many discussions, and I feel that Ericsson, for example, we are the most global telecoms company in the world. We have a huge responsibility to be part of that conversation, if it's with governments, with peers in our industries, or with our customers, that we're doing. But definitely there are coming some challenges with it, and we just need to tackle them.
Hans, sorry, they need to fix your